Well, everybody, it looks as if we've been sent to Coventry, as the old pejorative saying goes. The city of Leofric and Godiva in the final decades of Anglo-Saxon England, and of which in more recent years the specials sang that it was coming like a ghost town. Somewhat more accuracy and honesty than anything you hear from the vast majority of politicians. Now, I wanted to provide a few insights, hopefully, because, as I'm sure everyone is aware, we've recently seen a bit of an upset in Westminster with the Green Party of England and Wales. We've seen a lady dressed as, I think, Tinkerbell. I'm not an expert on pantomime, but yes, this lady prizing the reins of power from Labour's cold dead hands in the Gorton and Denton Westminster by-election. So I wanted to say a few things about what this means for us as nationalists, really, and also hopefully provide a few insights on the fact that environmentalism was once a far sharper and less compromising movement than what it is today. So, yes, the Green Party, since the ascension to leadership of Mr. Polanski in September 2025, they have exploded to over 200,000 members, polling consistently in the 12 to 17% range nationally, and commanding a quite extraordinary 37 to 45% among 18 to 24-year-olds, with young women flocking to their banner at even higher rates. And the Young Greens now boast more than 40,000 members, making them the largest youth wing in British politics, and I'll be coming back to this later. Now, a cursory look at the Greens shows them to be every bit as compromised as the Westminster old gang parties, a cabal of post-Marxists, globalist technocrats and liberal universalists who cloak their borderless agenda in green camouflage. Mr. Polanski's platform views environmental concerns through a prism of global solidarity, decolonial revenge and open migration. The green gospel is austerity for the masses while the elites jet off to Davos. So this being the case, the victory of Hannah Spencer has prompted much hand-wringing and doom-pilling from the milieu that I broadly class as the reactionary right. And by this I mean the variations on a theme of zombie Thatcherism embodied by Mr. Farage and Reform, Mr. Habib and Advance, and now also Mr. Lowe and Restore, plus the counter-jihad tendency represented by Tommy 12 names. So we've seen numerous commentators who occupy this broad ideological space attributing the Greens' victory to a demographic surge from Muslim voters mobilised by their stance on Gaza and other international issues. However, this narrative doesn't withstand critical scrutiny, and I think it's clear that, in large part, working-class white people turned out to vote for the Greens because of their focus on economic inequality. In addition, more in common opinion polls, source you always have to take with a pinch of salt, I know, from November 2025 showed net support for tighter immigration controls across the electorate, including among Green voters. So I think the message here is that actions speak louder than words. What's more significant than the ideology of the Greens is the actual campaign they ran in Gorton and Denton, and how they positioned themselves as a positive, hopeful alternative on everyday concerns such as the NHS, cost of living, clean air, good schools and thriving high streets. Voters rejected the status quo across the board. Nearly half of Labour's 2024 supporters deserted them. It's a lesson in how a repositioned message can capture volatile, insurgent energy, even in a historically safe Labour seat. Meanwhile, in the Reform corner, we had our old friend Matt Goodwin promising to stop the boats and end wokery, but delivered alongside more of the same policies that created the discontent in the first place. Housing as an investment playground, public services squeezed, wages undercut, all delivered with a nostalgia for a pre-1997 Britain that felt more like a PR tagline than a policy programme. Now, we don't do nostalgia. We're not antiquarians or reenactors. We don't offer sepia-tinted visions of some imagined past idyll. We retrieve from blood memory what still cuts. We salute Rolf Gardner, the true father of the English ecological revolt, who 90 years ago expounded a national ecology fused with militant folk consciousness as the last best hope for our national salvation. An early disciple of D.H. Lawrence and enthusiast for guild socialism, by the 1930s his views had matured into a profound engagement with German National Socialism and the ideas of blood and soil. At his estate in Dorset, Gardner created the Springhead Ring, an agrarian community aimed at promoting the revival of sword dancing, folk songs and festivals, and a life of semi-militaristic service to the land. To Gardner, the earth was no mere dirt, but a heavenly being, alive with myth, pulse and destiny. To sever blood from soil is to live in the ruins of a house whose foundations have crumbled. Now, Gardner's vision was sharpened by his early association with John Hargrave, the founder of the Kindred of the Kibbo Kift, a mythic youth movement born from the ashes of the First World War, which blended woodcraft, pagan ritual, and a dream of a reborn English folk. Hargrave took his followers from forest camps to the streets, rebranding them in the 1930s as the Green Shirt Movement for Social Credit. Green-shirted militants marching against usury, demanding a national dividend, envisioning a post-capitalist order where the land and the people were healed together. Gardner, who had published Hargrave's writings, considered these green shirts a more authentically English fascism than Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists. Organic, rooted in the soil, the unemployed, the folk rhythms. Hargrave's Green Army dissolved into the Social Credit Party, but the echo remains. A reminder that the ecological rebellion once wore uniforms and shouted against the banks. In 1936, Gardner joined Lord Livingstone's English Array, a group bold enough to name the hidden hand behind high finance. He denounced cosmopolitanism, intellectualism, and the cult of individualism, promoting the renewal of culture through the bond of folk and land, and solidarity between the peoples of Northern Europe. The tribes of Yggdrasil, he declared, should reign once more around the Baltic and Northern seas. In 1941, Gardner formed Kinship in Husbandry, the forerunner to the Soil Association, bringing him into contact with Jorian Jenks and Henry Williamson. Jenks, the BUF's agricultural advisor and a key architect of its rural policy, had recently been released from internment under Defence Regulation 18B after detention as a suspected threat. A practical farmer from Sussex, Jenks championed organic husbandry, peasant farms and self-sufficiency as antidotes to industrial decay and financial parasitism. Williamson, the celebrated author of Tarka the Otter, was a leading BUF member who adorned his Norfolk farm with the movement's flash and circle symbol. and viewed rural revival as a spiritual parallel to European national awakening. A neo-romantic visionary, he joined Kinship as a founding member, bringing literary eloquence to the group's advocacy for traditional methods to restore moral, physical, and economic health to the nation. In the decades that followed the Second World War, this loose fellowship of rural revivalists opposed mechanized chemical agriculture and bureaucratic progress, promoting organicism as a path to community and national regeneration. Unlike some of their contemporaries, they also refused to disavow their pre-war allegiances. In 1967, Gardner and Williamson jointly petitioned for the release of Rudolf Hess, the prisoner of peace. Yet the green flame they kindled was soon captured and twisted by alien forces. The organic movement, born in interwar revolt against industrial decay and ruthless cosmopolitanism, was usurped in the post-war years by Marxism and globalism. What began as a defense of local soil, native husbandry, and rooted community became a vehicle for universalist ideologies, despising borders, blood, and belonging. Figures like John Bellamy Foster retroactively depict Marx as a proto-ecologist, but Marxism treats Earth as raw material for proletarian emancipation, not a sacred matrix of folk and soil. The red-green synthesis demands austerity in equality's name, but it is equality without distinction, a leveling, erasing nature and culture's hierarchies alike. It aligns with globalist technocracy, carbon credits, supranational accords like the Paris Agreement, bureaucratic empires transferring power upward, eroding sovereignty and imposing homogenized sustainability regardless of ancestral ties to place. So this brings us to the present day and what I think are two principal takeaways. The first is that nationalism must reject the false dichotomy that traps modern politics in sterile opposition. On the one side, ruthless, deracinated globalism. On the other side, a hollow, demagogic populism. The one world mafia sells globalism as inevitable progress, borderless flows of human beings and capital dissolving nations into a homogenized managerial utopia under universal human rights. In reflexive reaction, the populism of parties like Reform and Restore offers anti-establishment bluster, culture war theatre, and vague appeals to the people. It looks less like a vision of renewal than a grievance engine running on fumes. The other main takeaway is that the right's defeatism about young people is a self-inflicted wound. Using Reform UK's abysmal support among the under-30s as a barometer for the entire generational mood is a lazy misdiagnosis. Young people aren't voting for Reform in large numbers because Reform's entire platform is redolent of a grumpy old killjoy banging his walking stick on the floor of his local pub. Reform offers grievance without vision, rage without roots, control without renewal. Young people sense the system's rot, debt slavery, housing unaffordability, social degeneration, environmental decay, but parties like Reform respond by proposing deregulation, tax cuts for higher earners, fracking the countryside, and to top it all, Farage's bizarre crusade against working from home. It should be a surprise to no one that none of this resonates with a generation that stands little to no chance of ever owning their own property. But the young are not lost. They await something that speaks to their instinct for meaning beyond memes, beyond rage. The prevailing sentiment among young people is, quote, screw the system, unquote. A deep anarchic disillusionment with managerial liberalism, corporate capture, and ruling class hypocrisy. The Greens channel a sanitized version, hope, care, justice. But that energy is volatile, not locked in. The National Rebirth Party can offer what neither the Greens or Reform or Restore can. A vitalist, militant, folk conscious ecology that defends the soil and tribe without the alienating puritanism of reaction. A true nationalist force, aligned with the 20 demands of our national agenda, can reclaim the green banner authentically, not as Marxist levelling or one-world erasure, but as sacred defence of Britain's ancient groves, unpolluted rivers, and biodynamic soils. We recall the struggles of Gardner, Jenks, Hargrave, and Williamson, and press on against the usurpers, in the certainty that what was severed will be rejoined in due course. Because the blood remembers, the soil remembers, and so do we.